This is a production of West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the Legislature today is provided by West Virginia University, offering education, healthcare, and the opportunity to achieve career success since 1867. Information at wvu.edu.
Sonesta Suites in Charleston, an extended stay hotel located near the airport, downtown, and the state capitol. More at sonesta.com.
Solar Holler, supporting Appalachian communities and building on West Virginia's history of powering the nation by bringing solar energy and battery backup to homeowners, nonprofits, and businesses throughout the region. More at solarholler.com.
Welcome to the Legislature Today. I'm Brianna Heaney. First, our apologies to those of you who watch this show on our broadcast channels. Last night, our connection was cut and the Legislature Today didn't air on TV. The biggest topic on the show last night was a story Jack Walker brought us about a long and contentious committee meeting focused on the Senate Bill 474. That is commonly referred to as the DEI bill. It stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The bill would remove any DEI programs at state institutions, including universities and government offices. Eric Douglas sat down with Delegate Anitra Hamilton, a Democrat from Monongalia County, and Reverend Paul Dunn from the First Baptist Church in Charleston to get their take on the DEI bill and what it means to the community as a whole. You can watch the entire show on our website now and on the West Virginia Public Broadcasting YouTube channel. The Senate Economic Development Committee approved House Bill 2014 on Tuesday after a 3.5-hour meeting with testimony from several witnesses. The bill would expand the number of microgrids in the state to support AI and data centers. Curtis Tate has that story.
Multiple county officials came before the committee on Tuesday to oppose the diversion of local property tax revenue to state coffers in House Bill 2014. The objections came from two eastern panhandle counties, Jefferson and Berkeley, as well as Greenbrier and Putnam counties. Eddie Goshenauer, president of the Berkeley County Commission, called it overreaching.
Honestly, it is some of the most overreaching legislation that I've ever encountered. And, when the governor was the former attorney general, he fought back against overregulating from the federal government. And on the local level, we feel we're doing the same thing. But the truth is, we want to be a partner. We want to be a partner in the growth of West Virginia. These data centers can change the game for the state of West Virginia, but also within these 55 counties. We have the most energy. We are the economic energy state. We have the ability to produce the energy. So please don't take the revenues from our counties that by code, your code, entitles us to. It's in our Constitution. So we want to be a partner, but we want to be treated fair. We want to be a true and equal partner. And I don't think that's too much to ask.
Morgan Tenney, executive director of the Putnam County Economic Development Authority, said the legislation would discourage communities from seeking data center projects.
My concern with the bill in its current language is that it will actually discourage local communities from wanting data centers in their county. They do utilize a lot of property, a lot of infrastructure, and the overwhelming benefit to a local community is the tax revenue. And if there's not a tax revenue increase from this project, my fear from local development authority standpoints is that they would rather see other projects in their community that would increase the taxes. Our sole purpose as a local development authority is to create jobs and increase the tax base. What incentive do you have as a local development authority or a local county leadership to bring in a data center if you don't see the tax benefits from that?
Pasha Maji, president of the Jefferson County Commission, said the reallocation of tax revenues would strain county services.
HB 2014 reallocates certain commercial property tax revenues from county commissions to the state. These commercial property tax revenues are a key tool used by county commissions to balance the budget and pay for our emergency services, such as ambulances, police, and first responders. This leaves counties with fewer resources and limited options to fill the resulting gap, and making it harder to maintain county services.
The committee amended the bill so that 30% of property tax revenue stays with the county. Most of the balance of that revenue will go to the state for further reductions in the state income tax. The committee then approved HB 2014 and sent it to the Senate floor. For the Legislature Today, I'm Curtis Tate.
Amendments are flying as both chambers are working to trade and modify each body's respective bills. On the Senate side today, legislators sent more bills over to the House, where delegates can concur with changes made. Prior to this session, the Senate had not rejected a bill since 2020. But this year, things are a bit more contentious, with amendments routinely narrowly passing or failing. Yesterday, there was even a tie on an amendment, meaning it failed. And today, for the third time this session, a bill was narrowly rejected by the Senate. Here's a rundown of some of the top things that happened in the Senate today. The Senate amended its budget into the House budget bill in its entirety. The Senate Finance Chair, Senator Jason Barrett, a Republican from Berkeley County, says budget negotiations are underway. He says he's having productive conversations with the House Finance Chair, Vernon Criss, a Wood County Republican.
We're looking forward to having a compromise completed by day 60.
The budget passed out of the Senate today, as compared with the budget that passed out of the House last week, is more closely aligned with the governor's budget.
Where we've implemented the higher education funding formula for I believe, really the first time. But there are some other increases to adoption and foster care programs in the state, and I think that's probably one of the, as far as a dollar amount, that's probably the largest difference between the two budgets.
Barrett says the budget fully funds human services programs like child care. Barrett highlighted supplementals that have been passed to provide extra funding for the Birth to 3 program and put money back into the federal entitlement fund that had been used to help pay for subsidized child care in the state. He says the Senate bill will also better maintain higher education funding, at least for West Virginia University.
The House budget had a $15 million cut to West Virginia University. The Senate's budget does not incorporate a cut to West Virginia University.
Senate Bill 3017 was narrowly rejected by the Senate. Last evening, when the Senate met, there was debate over an amendment proposed by Senator Ryan Weld, a Republican from Brooke County. The amendment was a 6-page amendment that would include some provisions from another bill, Senate Bill 489, that was parked in rules last week. It set up certain requirements for election law violations. Senator Tom Willis, a Republican from Berkeley County, rose to speak against the bill and questioned how germane or relevant the amendment was to the bill.
This is not a simple amendment of 1 or 2 lines or even 1 or 2 paragraphs. This is a 6-page cut and paste of a bill that was in Rules Committee.
Senator Joey Garcia, a Democrat from Marion County, pushed back.
I want to make sure I'm clear on your main point and the point you started out with. A 6 or maybe let's say an 8-page strike and insert that has little to do with the underlying title of the bill that's in front of us. You wouldn't support something like that consistently, right?
In this case, I don't support it.
A bill that would require the Department of Health to report positive alpha-gal tests to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention has a committee amendment waiting to be proposed. The amendment is the vaccine exemption bill that died in the House of Delegates a few weeks ago. In that committee, there were questions on how germane that amendment was. Now, that bill is in the final stages of consideration in the Senate, where there will likely be more questions about how germane or relevant that committee amendment is. The House would still have to concur with the major change. As of Tuesday, Governor Patrick Morrisey has signed 25 bills into law. That's just over a third of the bills that have completed legislative action. Morrissey highlighted efficiency and reducing red tape in his State of the State speech. And he signed several bills that authorize digital court records, repeal inoperative portions of code, or remove, quote, outdated provisions governing political committees. Bills related to elections have also been prioritized by the governor. He has already signed legislation to clear the state's voter rolls, ban the use of ranked choice voting in the state, and, quote, clarify eligibility requirements to vote in West Virginia elections. At least 2 other bills relate to cultural issues the governor has identified as important, including a bill defining men and women, and a ban on food dyes that has garnered national attention from incoming U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and others. While the legislature is in session, the governor has 5 days to approve or veto a bill he receives. After the legislature adjourns, the governor has 15 days to act on most bills. If the governor does not act within these time limits, bills automatically become law without his or her signature. Members of the House Judiciary Committee reviewed bills today pertaining to election protocol, drug offenses, and the oil and gas industry. Jack Walker.
We're here at the state capitol where members of the House Judiciary Committee discussed some final pieces of proposed legislation moving through this year's legislative session. That includes Senate Bill 280, which would require public schools across the state to display the national motto, "In God We Trust," somewhere on school grounds, displayed with the United States flag. It's not the first time that lawmakers have pushed to display the phrase more prominently in schools. Similar bills were under consideration in both 2023 and 2024. Some lawmakers, mostly on the Democrat side, have expressed concern the move would limit religious freedom for students. During the committee's meeting Wednesday, lead sponsor Senator Michael Azinger, a Republican from Wood County, testified on his bill's behalf. He affirmed that the motto has a religious underpinning, but described it as integral to U.S. history.
What's more benign or more wonderful than having the U.S. motto on the walls of our schools where kids can see it? Kids can see that we are a nation under God and that God is our foundation.
Despite some pushback from Democratic members, the committee voted to advance the bill to the House floor, with the recommendation that it pass. The committee also advanced Senate Bill 196 to the House floor, otherwise known as Lauren's Law. The bill would raise criminal penalties for drug trafficking offenses. It faced pushback from some lawmakers who worried it was too sprawling and questioned the efficacy of expanding criminal penalties to address the addiction crisis. Also under consideration was Senate Bill 488, which would modify laws around electioneering, which refers to efforts to influence an election. The bill provides more distinct language to describe what campaign paraphernalia can't be brought to a polling location. That includes merchandise promoting a candidate or ballot measure, campaign literature, and signs, stickers, and pins pertaining to the election, among other things. The bill also modifies laws surrounding photography at voting locations, which is already restricted under state law. The bill would prohibit photography within 100 feet of a polling place entrance, but allow for phone calls and the use of electronic devices in these zones. During yesterday's committee meeting, David Cook with the Secretary of State's office testified that the proposal follows complaints from county clerks running elections.
During early voting and on election day, we got multiple complaints from various different clerks regarding people pulling out their cameras and taking photographs in the voting room.
Cook said incidents like these cause disruptions.
20 states prohibit photographs in the voting rooms. This is not a situation where we're trying to say, don't take ballot selfies. This is to maintain order in the voting places.
The committee advanced the bill to the House floor with the recommendation that it pass. But one bill under review didn't find the same approval. Senate Bill 124 would have reduced the statute of limitations under which property owners can appeal contracts made with oil and gas companies on their land. Some lawmakers worried it could disempower residents given faulty contracts. That bill was voted down by a verbal majority of lawmakers, halting it with just days left in this year's legislative session. Thursday is the deadline for any piece of proposed legislation to be taken up for a first reading on either chamber's floor. For the Legislature Today, I'm Jack Walker at the state capitol.
Chaos reigned over the House of Delegates. With days left to legislate, the body read each bill up for passage in full and debated many amendments. Emily Rice has more.
After receiving messages from the Senate and committees, members of the House of Delegates moved to have each bill on third reading read in full, a measure lawmakers use to give more time to hash out legislative issues.
Licensee means an optometrist licensed under the provisions of this article. Permittee means a person holding a temporary permit. Practice of optometry means the examining, diagnosing, and treating of any visual defect or abnormal condition of the human eye or its appendages within the scope established in this article or associated rules, and the performance of those procedures taught and trained through schools or colleges of optometry accredited by the Accreditation Council on Optometric Education.
Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we had 93 ayes, 4 nays, and 3 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed.
The bill would broadly expand the practice of optometry in the state if signed into law by Governor Patrick Morrisey. Senate Bill 617, aimed at discouraging gang activity, was not read in full but amended on third reading by Delegate J.B. Akers, a Republican from Kanawha County.
This amendment simply clarifies to satisfy constitutional concerns regarding this new section of code if this passes, so that an individual will not be considered to be part of a conspiracy or a gang involved in a conspiracy simply as membership. They have to actually be actively engaged in a crime.
Akers' amendment was adopted, but the bill was further debated by lawmakers attempting to amend certain provisions in the measure. Delegate Hollis Lewis, a Democrat from Kanawha County, tried to amend the bill to take out the words informal and formal and replace them with language he says would clarify the intent of the legislation.
Basically what it does is again, I don't know how you're informally part of a gang. You actually have to do something to actually be part of an organization. When we think about this, I think, the Blood, the Crips, M13, Aryan Nation, different gangs of that nature where they, take on codes and symbols of one another. To be informally part of an organization.
Delegate Lewis's amendment failed after Delegate Brandon Steele, a Republican from Raleigh County, rose to speak against it.
The way that the bill's set up right now, you actually want it to be somewhat vague, so that it can be applied to a group of people that might just crop up next week after we pass this bill.
The House amended many bills on second reading on a variety of topics, from testing for substance use disorder in rehabilitation facilities, repealing the section of state code that created the A. James Mansion Rehabilitation Environmental Action Plan, to a bill permitting compressed air and rimfire shooting teams in public schools. The House moved all bills on first reading but 2. The body rejected a bill on first reading to change the distribution of income from the excess lottery fund and postponed action on the Safer Communities Act. The House recessed until an evening session after our deadline. For the Legislature Today, I'm Emily Rice in Charleston.
Our West Virginia public broadcasting, energy and environment reporter and frequent host of the Legislature Today, Curtis Tate, has been following several bills this session. As most politicians say, West Virginia is an energy state. Just yesterday, both of our U.S. senators were at an event sponsored by President Donald Trump, where he signed an executive order with the intention of supporting the coal industry. Thank you, Curtis.
Hey, Bree.
All righty. Donald Trump promised to revive coal during his first term as president. What's changed since then?
Well, a lot of things have changed. Actually, during the time that he was president, a lot of coal plants around the country closed, more than during Biden's one term. Another thing is there's just been a huge surge in development of renewable power, especially solar and battery storage. And actually last year, for the very first time, wind and solar overtook coal as a greater source of U.S. electricity. President Joe Biden attempted to pass a law, or enact a regulation through the Environmental Protection Agency that would have probably forced a lot of the remaining coal-fired power plants in the country to shut down in the next several years. That's all sort of up in the air now, and then now with Trump's push for keeping those plants online longer, especially to meet new electricity demand, we just don't really know how that's going to shake out.
Backyard brawl.
Well, that's right, because Governor Patrick Morrisey has made one of his top priorities bringing microgrids and data centers to West Virginia to support AI and just the tremendous growth in the need for data centers. And so far, what I'd like to point out is that West Virginia is not really winning that backyard brawl, because Pennsylvania, just last week I think it was, announced that they've reached a deal to repurpose a former coal-fired power plant called Homer City, and they're going to build the largest natural gas plant in the country to power a data center there. So I think that's an example of what West Virginia could do, and maybe had an opportunity to do with, for example, the Pleasance Power Station, which was supposed to shut down 2 years ago, but has since been repurposed. But it's not really clear whether it's not really running much, is the bottom line. And perhaps if they had demolished that plant and redeveloped the site, they could have attracted that data center that Pennsylvania got instead.
Now, we talked about microgrids. Where does coal fit into West Virginia and Governor Morrissey's plan for microgrids?
Well, that's a good question. And there does seem to be some determination among state leaders to enable coal to support these data centers. But it's not really clear yet who's interested in participating. I mean, maybe Appalachian Power and Mon Power, but they've indicated, though, that they don't plan to build any new coal plants. That's off the table. They've told lawmakers this multiple times. Lawmakers may not want to hear that, but that's what they've been told multiple times, including just yesterday in the Senate Economic Development Committee. So the other thing is that sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. West Virginia, I mean, we're talking about coal. West Virginia relies almost exclusively on coal. How does that compare with other bordering states and other states in the country?
Well, that's right. West Virginia receives almost 90% of its electricity from coal, and that makes it an outlier in the country. You take our neighboring states, for example, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio. They have swung very sharply in the past 10 to 15 years from coal to natural gas. Now, the thing is, and this has been pointed out to lawmakers and various committees considering different kinds of legislation to address these issues, West Virginia is a big natural gas producer. And so even just yesterday, an executive from Appalachian Power said that additional capacity that they would build would be gas, and it would be gas produced in West Virginia. And you know, it's also produced very in high volumes in Pennsylvania, and it's used extensively in, again, those states I mentioned. It is the dominant fuel in the country, as coal once was, and it shows really no signs of letting go of that primacy. And the gas and oil industry, I think, feels very ambitious right now in terms of expanding to meet the needs, the future needs of data centers, and also to replace more coal generation. I think I mentioned Mon Power earlier. They've actually openly said to their investors that they're planning to replace the 2 coal plants they have in West Virginia with natural gas.
Wow.
It's just more efficient.
Yeah.
A coal plant is what, 35% efficient. A natural gas plant, depending on how it's configured, can be 60% efficient. So there's a huge difference right there. And coal, it's just really hard to make it more efficient, and so it's able to catch up with those gas plants. And then, of course, renewables have now become the lowest cost of all. And you know, the Trump administration has a bit of an antipathy toward renewables, especially wind. But you know, a lot of people have told me that there's no slowing it down. There might be a change in policy, but does it necessarily translate into something real that's going to happen?
It seems like we're at a crossroads here with the marketplace moving one way on coal and
That's right.
West Virginia leadership, and now national leadership pushing for the other way on coal.
Oh, that's right. And of course, President Trump had the White House ceremony yesterday with Senators Justice and Capito and a whole big group of miners and probably mining industry people. It's not real clear at this point whether we're actually going to see the kind of major shift that that he's talking about, because this stuff has been happening over the past 10 or 15 years, and it would just seem like a really heavy lift to swing it back in the other direction.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about this, and I guess we'll just have to see how these things go. I mean, the marketplace is pulling it this way, and we'll see what the Trump administration and both Governor Morrisey are able to accomplish when it comes to coal.
That's right.
Thanks for that, Curtis. That's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We are in the final few days of this session. Saturday night, we will broadcast the final hours of the legislature from 8 p.m. until midnight. Join us to see how things wrap up. Until then, you can catch the legislature today, tomorrow, and Friday at 6 p.m. And remember, West Virginia Public Broadcasting covers the session daily in our radio news program, West Virginia Morning, and on our news site at wvpublic.org. We also broadcast the daily floor sessions of both the House and the Senate on the West Virginia channel. I'm Brianna Heaney. Good evening, and see you here again tomorrow.
Support for the legislature today is provided by West Virginia University, offering education, healthcare, and the opportunity to achieve career success since 1867. Information at wvu.edu.
Sonesta Suites in Charleston, an extended stay hotel located near the airport, downtown, and the state capitol. More at sonesta.com.
Solar Holler, supporting Appalachian communities and building on West Virginia's history of powering the nation by bringing solar energy and battery backup to homeowners, nonprofits, and businesses throughout the region. More at solarholler.com.